Welcome to the red attack path. This technique is DLL attacks for the IT420 class. Just a quick review from the previous technique. We used EvilWinRM to do an AMSI bypass with invoke snow. We loaded Sharphound through EvilWinRM. Then we executed Bloodhound and downloaded the results. And we imported and analyzed those results in Bloodhound on Kali. So in this technique, we're going to do what's called, we're hijacking the execution flow. So when a program loads, it utilizes DLLs. The best way I can kind of help understand what a DLL is it's like a book with chapters. And when the program needs to execute a given program that's in a chapter, it will call the DLL by that chapter name or the function. It'll go directly to that function, execute it, and then return. So for us to be able to proxy that function call, we need to clone the chapter in our proxy DLL and then pass it to the original DLL. So we're going to be doing DLL proxying. In the context of malware, DLL proxying is a DLL hijacking technique where a legitimate DLL, say legit.dll, is renamed to legit1.dll, and the malicious DLL, which exports all the same functions that legit1.dll exports, is placed instead of legit.dll. So we're going to use the application called 7-zip that is installed on Windows 10. By navigating the C program file 7-zip and listing the directory contents with EvilWinRM, we notice there is a 7z.dll. And when we get here, remember to invoke snow. Also, in this directory, we're going to be downloading the 7z.dll to our downloads folder. If you're in program file 7-zip and do the download, it appears that the download was successful, but it actually fails because of the privileges that you need for this directory. If you need to make changes to the privileges, remember that Brayley Ogden is a local administrator and you can do that. To work around this, I actually copy the 7zip.dll to the documents folder for Brayley Ogden. And then I cd to that directory, and then I can download the 7z DLL to EvilWinRM's folder for downloads. Again, the progress bar does show up briefly, and then it disappears with a message saying download successful. So as I said before, think of a DLL as a book with a table of contents, and each chapter has a title. When the program needs to use the DLL, it'll look it up by the chapter name and what it is looking for. We want to catch that call, execute something in the middle, and then pass to the legitimate DLL to complete the execution flow. For example, we are going to analyze 7z.dll for the exports and build our proxy to execute in the middle. So to gather those exports, there's a blog post located here at this URL. And we need to download a Python program called getexports.py. So let me back up. So the blog post here talks about DLL proxying. The site down here is the site that's referred to in the blog post that allows you to download the getexports.py file. To learn about the exports in 7z.dll, we run getexports.py target 7zip.dll, and it returns to us this output. Now we want to create the proxy.def file. So we want to copy the results of getexports.py, which is exports and all of this information, and place it in the proxy.def file with nothing else. Notice that in this output for the exports, there's original dot. original is going to be the name of our DLL. So 7z.dll in the 7-zip folder will be renamed to original.dll. If we wanted to change original to del or hack or hijack or hidden, we could do that here, but then our file, each one of these is going to have to be the same, or maybe not the same. Maybe you could have multiple, but I'm going to say the same for the sake of this video. So I could change original to del dot whatever for this whole file. And then 7z.dll would have to be renamed to original.dll in the 7-zip folder. Now I'm going to create the proxy.c file. And notice the proxy.c file has this function called mirror. I did change that from the original just cause. And then I added two commands, system net user DLL hijack. So if this is successful, it'll actually create a user called DLL hijack with that password and add him to the local administrators group. And this mirror function will work when a DLL process attach is hit. I could also put mirror inside of DLL thread attach or DLL thread detach or DLL process detach, depending on when I would like the code to be executed. Normally I wouldn't run system commands up here. I'd probably have like build a C reverse shell and put it in the code for mirror. But this is just a proof of concept, so I quickly did this. Windows Defender is probably going to pick out this DLL that we create because it does have these 2 lines of code. Maybe, maybe not. We will see. Then, following the instructions from the post, we want to compile. We want to create the object file with this first command. And then we want to take the proxy.definition, the object file, and output the proxy.dll. The proxy.dll we're going to rename to 7z.dll after we move it over to the Windows 10 box. So use evilwinrm to upload proxy.dll to Windows 10. Then navigate to the 7-zip directory, which I've done here. I'm going to upload, and my file at the time was called p3.dll. Your file is going to be called original.dll. Pull it in, rename the 7-zip, the original 7zip.dll to original.dll. Make sure you do that first. And then change your proxy.dll file, mine was p3.dll, to 7zip.dll. So in order of execution, 7z.exe is going to execute. It's going to call 7z.dll, which is the proxy that we've set up, and it'll execute the 2 commands. And that function is not going to exist there, so it's going to pass it on to original.dll and then execute the normal function. And remember that Brayley Ogden is a local administrator, so if you have to work with the permissions to get those files copied and moved and renamed, go ahead and do that. And being that this is a proof of concept, from the command line, you'll do 7-zip, add to archive, c:\users Brayley Ogden documents history.7z from the 7-zip directory, and we have history.txt in there. Notice in the screenshot that I captured that when I execute the command, it says the command completed successfully, telling me that the system command worked. This is very obvious to the user, and you'd probably want to hide that output. Also, notice the account was created. If I was running 7-zip from the command line as Brayley Ogden, I would not have elevated privileges, and the 2 system commands that I would like executed when the user does that are not going to execute. So just a note there, unless the system's been tweaked and it just works. But that was my experience logging in as Brayley Ogden, opening up command prompt and running this command, it did not execute the net user and add that user to the local admin group. And that's everything for this video for DLL attacks. And see you next time. Thanks.